Lady Lazarus by Sylvia Plath. An introductory note on the poem. The poem Lady Lazarus was written on 23 October 1962. 23 October 1962. Lady Lazarus, one of Sylvia Plath's last and most powerful poems, was recorded for BBC on October 30, 1962. Subsequently, it was published in Encounter magazine, Volume 21, Number 4, October 1963, on page 49, and in the Review, Number 2, October 1963, on page 7. The poem Lady Lazarus can be considered as a representative poem of death. Here in the poem, we get the tragic details of a lady's life and her several suicidal attempts. She says that she has tried to kill herself many times but surprisingly survived every time. She asked those who saved her from peeling off the napkin from her face and see her wounded soul. She compares her suffering to Nazi prisoners to make the readers understand the reason for her discontent. As the poem progresses, she provides graphic details of physical and mentality effects of suicide. She lashes out on her doctors and those who take her as an object of entertainment. She concludes by calling herself a phoenix rising from ashes. Annotation and explanations. Let's start. Stanza 1. I have done it again. Since Sylvia Plath is known for her confessional style of poetry, we can assume that the speaker in this poem is Plath herself. 1 year in every 10, I manage it. At first glance, this doesn't have much meaning, but after reading the entirety of Lady Lazarus, readers can gather that Plath is referring to suicide. She admits right off the bat that she has tried to die once every decade of her life. Stanza 2. A sort of walking miracle, a Nazi lampshade. She, com- she compares her skin to a Nazi lampshade. This is significant because of the idea that the Nazi people used to use the skin of the Jews to make lampshades. Plath uses this horrifying metaphor to compare her own suffering to those in Nazi concentration camps. My right foot. She conveys the heaviness of her pain by comparing her right foot to a paperweight. This imagery helps the reader to understand that Plath's pain was so real that it felt like a physical weight. Stanza 3. A paperweight. The paperweight conveys the nature of her emotional pain. My face of featureless. The imagery of a featureless face reveals that she doesn't feel any identity. She doesn't feel set apart for any specific or important purpose. She feels like a face lost in the crowd, one that none would remember. Fine Juline. Plath describes her face as fine fine Juline. Plath describes her face as fine Juline. Jew were used to wrap the body of Lazarus before they laid him in the tomb. Jew were also used to wrap Jesus' body before he was laid in the tomb. Plus reference to the fine Jew reaffirms that she already feels dead, or rather, she feels nothing just as the dead feel nothing. Stanza 4. Peel off the napkin, do I terrify? She is challenging to reader to look at her for who she really is. She doesn't believe that anyone would want to really know her, to peer into her soul and really know her. She believes that if people were to do that, they would be terrified. The reason she thinks this way is because she is afraid that people will become aware that although she is alive in flesh, her soul is dead. This is why she continues to use imagery of death and decomposition to describe herself. Stanza 5. The nose, the eye paints the full set of teeth. Plath identifies not with the risen Lazarus, but with the Lazarus who is dead and has already begun the decomposition process. This is why she describes herself as having a prominent nose cavity, eye pits, and teeth. The sore breath will vanish in a day. The sore breath will vanish in a day. Plath explains that the sore breath, the putrid smell of death, will soon vanish. She continues to explain the effect death. Plath uses this imagery to explain the emptiness and numbness that tortured her soul. She uses the description of physical decomposition to convey the way she feels that her soul is decomposing. Stanza 6. Soon the flesh at home on me. Plath then transitions from speaking of herself as an already dead woman to revealing that she is actually alive. However, the tone of Lady Lazarus reveals that she is disappointed at being alive. It becomes obvious that she is identifies with death far more than with life. Stanza 7. And I, a smiling woman. She thinks of herself as a rotting corpse. No, the smiling woman of only 30 that she sees when she looks in the mirror. She reveals an obvious disappointment that she has not been able to die when she compares herself to a cat, concluding that it will probably take many more attempts to reach death. And like the cat, I have 9 times to die. People usually say that a cat has 9 lives. Nobody would say that a cat has 9 times to die. By insisting on death rather than on life, the poem further reinforces its thematic of death. Stanza 8. This is number 3. She reveals that she has tried to die a number of times. What a trash to annihilate each decade. Plath reveals that each decade she has come very close to death. Stanza 9. What a million filaments. Million filaments could possibly refer to the excessive lighting that is linked with the almost circus like atmosphere. The peanut crunching crowd, suggesting that they are only in her life to scoff at her and make a spectacle of her. This same view of people is conveyed when she compares herself yet again to Lazarus. Stanza 10. Them unwrap the big strip tease. Interestingly, Lady Lazarus herself does not control this exposure, but others do. The ones denotes by the them that unwrap her. By calling it the big striptease, Plath shows how her vulnerabilities are being put on display, not by herself, but by some significant others. She is also concurrently displaying contempt for the audience, which is so eager to see the striptease. Stanza 11. These are my hands, skin and bone. She says that her hands, skin, bone, and knees are as normal as an identical woman who might be watching her in form of the crowd. These are my hands, skin, and bone. She says that her hands, skin, bone, and knees are as normal as an identical woman who might be watching her in form of the crowd. Okay, in form of the crowd. Stanza 12. Nevertheless, I am the same, an accident. The first, when she attempted this art of committing suicide, she was just 10. She considers attempting suicide as like a form of art. She is a good artist because she can fetch the attention of the crowd. Stanza 13. The second time I meant the second attempt of suicide. To last it out and not, I rocked, shut. The second time she was determined that she is not going to come back or dive back to life. Stanza 14. As a seashell, she was determined like a seashell, which is very hard. They had to call like sticky pearls. She is corroding and worms are eating up her body, but the society is calling her and trying to save her. She is searching life in death, whereas the society is trying to kill her by saving her. She does not want to handle the pressure of the society. Stanza 15. Dying is an art, like everything else. It has been discussed earlier that she considers death as a form of art. I do it exceptionally well. Committing suicide is not less than any form of art, and she performs it exceptionally well. Stanza 16. I do it so it feels like hell. When she does it seems to her like she is enjoying her freedom in hell and it seems real to her. I guess you could say I have a call. This world is a virtual world, according to the poetess, and she is still searching meaning in meaninglessness. She says that she has a call to believe in her own sphere of realism. Stanza 17. It's easy enough to do it in a cell. The poetess says that committing suicide or attempting suicide in a cell, or in a closed space is like performing some pious art, and it is very easy for her. It's the theatrical, it's like a drama. Stanza 18. Come back, Broadway, come back in broad day. Come back in broad day, the same brute. Every time she is saved by the society and looks like a theatrical comeback to her. It is like a theater or drama where she is bound to come at the same place, watching same faces and living in the same society like an animal. She further says that she is like an animal kept at any exhibition center, and people are coming to see her, that she is the same woman who always attempts suicide. A miracle knocks me out. She feels she is being put on stage When people call her life a miracle, Plath takes on a tone of sarcasm when she suggests that there should be a charge for looking at her or touching her. Stanza 20. For the eyeing of my scars, it really goes. People perceive her as like a strange creature and they need to pay some charge in order to watch her strangeness. They cannot take sadistic pleasure free of cost. They need to pay charge in order to watch scars at her eyes or hearing her story. Stanza 21. And there is a charge, bit of blood. She keeps on saying that people need to pay the charge in order to see her and take pleasure out of her pain. To talk to her or watch her blood, hair, or clothes, even her doctor need to pay the charge. Stanza 22. Or a piece of my hair or my clothes, hair or clothes, even her doctor need to pay the charge. So, her doctor, her enemy. Her is the German word for Mr. For Mr. The use of the German word doctor refers to the Nazi doctors who brought the Jewish victims back to health only to resume their suffering. By putting an emphasis on the word her twice in this stanza, Plath reveals that men are the enemy and the cause of her suffering. Plath then begins to explain why men are the enemy. Stanza 23. I am your opus, gold baby. She says that she is like opus or music, trying to amuse every passerby who is interested in watching her pain and extracting pleasure out of it. She is like a gold baby. Stanza 24. That melts to a shriek, great concern. She is like a gold baby whose melting point is her painful shriek, which gave enjoyment to the society. She also says that she cannot underestimate the great concern of the society. The great concern of the society is to save her from death, whereas she considers death as her life. Stanza 25. Ash, ash, there is nothing there. In these lines, she says that after burning, nothing is left but ash. In this line, she says that after burning, nothing is left but ash. People come and stir the ash and can find only bone. Stanza 26. A cake of soap, a gold feeling. People come and stir the ash and can find only bone, which can be utilized for making soap in the laboratory. A wedding ring can be found which she might have worn. Stanza 27. Her God, her Lucifer. Beware. There can be a reference to doctors during the time of Nazis. Jews were locked inside the gas chambers and burnt alive. These doctors were like God as well as Lucifer, the devil. One must be allowed to find some solace in the lap of death. Stanza 28. Out of the ash, eat men like air. She further says that she wished to rise from the ash with red hair, which symbolizes that she wants to take revenge from the society and eat or kill men who always try to suppress her.